Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our very first in-person Riverview Business Forum. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered on the unceded traditional land of the Mi'kmaq people today, and we hope that through this forum you'll gain insights, data, trends, and make meaningful connections for your business. So to start off, I'm Chanel Akerley. I'm the Manager of Economic Development at the town, and my lovely colleague is Yetlong Murphy, who is our Business Engagement Lead here at the town as well.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm the one who's been sending everyone emails. It's me. I'm glad to see a lot of familiar faces today. Thank you, Chanel. Our objective today is to deliver a genuine educational experience. Today's forum is designed with you in mind, understanding we're all here for the betterment of Riverview's business landscape. Starting with a few housekeeping items. The bathrooms and coat racks are located down the hallway at the front of this room to your right over here. And in the event of an emergency, there are 2 exits at the front and back of this room. Local foods are served for lunch today, and don't hesitate to reach out to Cher and Anik. I don't know if you're in this room. Are you here, Anik? And Cher, yep, she's waving there. If you're looking to host an event here, for weddings, workshops, seminars, please contact her, communicate with her, and she'd be more than happy to assist you. We've also set up a backdrop. It's a step and repeat with our 50th anniversary logo on it. I spent a long time yesterday setting that up, so I'd love for you guys after the event to do some selfies, some poses, and also remember to tag us at Town of Riverview on social media if you decide to share. We'll also be posting our photos from our photographer, Marika, there on our Facebook page after the event. So if you're looking to see where the photos are, I'll probably send out another email with all that information for you guys.
Thanks, Yetlong. So what she's saying is please take care of yourself and let us take care of business. You do it every other day, so it's on us. Just to run you through the event format, we're going to start with some opening remarks from Mayor LeBlanc, followed by a virtual presentation from David Campbell of our Commercial Market Threshold Report. We hope that you see yourselves in some of the insights and some of your venture and expansion plans for the future. Afterwards, Michelle from CBDC is going to present entrepreneurship and business programs, and we will finish off with a prize draw. It's also important to mention that we will have a Q&A session after each presenter and one at the very end with Mayor LeBlanc if you have any questions. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome someone who doesn't need an introduction, Mayor LeBlanc.
Good morning, everybody. We talked yesterday about just saying we'd like to invite someone who doesn't need an introduction and then just ending it there and letting it for dramatic effect. So the real reason we're here is for the cookies, let's be honest. They look amazing, and yeah. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. We're really excited to have our business community gathered together, to talk about the future of the town, to talk about how we're working together and how we're collaborating. I'd like to give a shout out to Yetlong and Chanel for the work they did to put this together, an MC. This is a great year for us. It's been our 50th anniversary for the town of Riverview. A lot of things that we've been celebrating this year. We've had awards, we've had different events to bring our community together. And I think we can reflect over the last 50 years and really look at the growth of the town of Riverview. And a lot of that is because of everybody in this room, because of the work that you do to boost our commercial sector, to help us grow residentially, to provide valuable resources and services to the people who live here. Because of the work that you're doing, we've been able to create a sustainable community, one that's poised for even more growth moving forward. And so really we want to thank you for the work that you do. We want to continue to work with you. I'm so far off script now, it's not even funny. I'm so sorry. But at this point, you just need to build into the script that I'm going to go over my time, and that's just, I'll apologize in advance. There's a very well-written script here for me to read to all of you, so... As Yetlong and Chanel said, we have a very exciting agenda ahead of us today. We're looking forward to sharing some really exciting information with you and also having the chance to hear back from you as well. And the intent with this is that you leave feeling more informed about what's happening in the town of Riverview and how we can work together, but also feeling that your voice has been heard. And so before I get going on the actual things I'm supposed to say, I'll introduce some of my colleagues who are here. We have Councillor Wayne Bennett is here as well, Ward 4 Councillor. We have Councillor, yeah, you can clap, that's fine. Councillor Cecile Casista is here. Another one who's a kindred spirit to the Yatlong and sends a lot of emails, so that's great. Councillor Stephen Gazules is here, our new councillor at large. Our CAO Colin Smith is here as well. And we have a number of other Town of Riverview staff who joined us from a variety of departments as well. So thanks to all of you for being here today as well. So if you remember back to 2021, we held our first business forum. It was a few months after we had just come off the municipal election. And so our new council had the opportunity to hear from the business community, to have a better understanding of some of the concerns that everyone in the community had. And we wanted an opportunity to have a more formal discussion, to be able to hear some of those concerns in a formal capacity and start looking at some action planning around that. So unfortunately, it was 2021, and it was virtual at the time because that was life in 2021, and we're not there anymore, thankfully. But the goal with that was to strengthen our relationship and to have more free-flowing dialogue and conversation with the business community. And so I had worked with staff at the time to create the business forum that we did then, and this is going to be a continuation of that. And so in a few moments I'll highlight some of the things that we've been up to since the last time we had a formal business forum. At the time, we had valuable feedback from 43 different partners who attended. Hopefully some of you who are here today were also at that session. And today we have, it looks like a nearly capacity crowd here. If there's any media in the room, there's probably 2,000 people here today. Just incredible turnout. We're poaching from Moncton and Dieppe is really what's happening too, so that's great. And like I said, today we want to thank you for the work that you do, the work that you've done to help us grow as a community, to be a part of the change, and for helping us to build on the results and improvements that we've been seeing in the town of Riverview. We know that the business leaders are community builders, strategic planners. We know that over the last couple of years, you've had to weather very challenging storms, whether it's the pandemic or dealing with increasing cost of living or inflationary increases. It's getting more and more difficult to run a business. And so we appreciate that you've still been such strong partners for the town of Riverview to help us continue to grow and build our community together. You've been a driving force behind the growth of our community. And really, you know, one of the things that we actually talked about this at Light Up Riverview, one of the things that's so amazing about the small business community that we have is that we have a number of organizations and nonprofits and community events that happen in the town of Riverview, and consistently the business community is there to sponsor those groups. And those things couldn't happen without us coming together, and so I want to thank you for being a part of that as well. In Riverview, the business community has continued to expand this year alone. We've had 13 grand openings that the town has been a part of, which is very exciting. And as of June this year, there's over 1,000 registered entrepreneurs and business establishments here in the town of Riverview. So because I'm already over my time, I'm going to go a little faster. We've, like I mentioned, we had the forum back in 2021, and so today I want to touch on a few of the things that the town of Riverview has been doing to address some of the issues that came out of that forum. One of the biggest things that we had talked about was the need for additional resources within the town to build that connection with the business community, and so we created Yat Long's position, the Community Engagement Worker for Business, and this was created specifically to assist local businesses in addressing some of the challenges that were brought forward, like promotion, communication, and creating meaningful partnerships for local businesses. We've worked to highlight your success with more resources at your disposal. We've been able to increase visibility for local businesses at our festivals and events, alongside new initiatives to help with exposure. So that includes things like the business spotlights that we've been running as a part of the 50th anniversary. And so you've seen 50 of those running through our social media and our website as well. And we've seen a lot of resident engagement with that, which is really encouraging because I think it's a testament to the loyalty and the community spirit that comes with the business community in the town of Riverview, and the fact that our residents are so committed to supporting the local businesses who are here. We've created the local business awards. We've assisted in the promotion of grand openings and anniversary celebrations. and a number of other things as well. And hopefully you've had the chance to see the impact of some of those. We've worked to improve transportation. There's been continued improvements to public transit in the town, as well as active transportation, as the town is working collaboratively with Kodiak Transpo Committee to advocate for improved services and promoting active transportation through social media channels. We've invested in research. I think everybody is aware that we're dealing with a housing crisis in this country and internationally as well. Not that Riverview is going to solve the international challenges, but we're certainly going to do our part. So we did a comprehensive study and a public survey that really outlines the town's housing needs, and we're hoping that that information is going to come back to council probably in December of this year. And so we're excited to see that information. But we recognize the challenges associated with housing, and we know that we need to do more. I think we were talking, I think it was Paul Lavoie I was talking with, that we were talking about the need for a change in the housing sector. The fact that Riverview historically has been single detached homes, that's a lot of what our development has been, and the needs for housing are completely different now. We're seeing a change in the housing demographic wherein our senior population may not be able to afford to stay in their home anymore, and they're looking to retire and they want to stay in this community. So it's important that we have diverse housing options so they can rent or so they can buy, but we need apartment availability, we need semi-detached, we need a diverse stock of housing to make sure that those folks can stay in our community. But the same goes for young people who are looking to start out, maybe looking to start a family, can't afford a home right out of the gate, and so we need more diverse stock to support them as well. So that's one of the things that we're certainly aware of in what we're doing with the housing needs assessment, and that will incorporate all of you. We need to work together to address the housing crisis, in particular with our developers, but even as a larger community. There's a role for everybody to play in making sure that everybody is welcome in the town of Riverview and that we have options for everyone. The last example, I guess, is when we look at the newcomers who are coming into our region, we're seeing a difference in the fact that we have multiple generations now living under one roof, and we need accommodations to be able to support that, especially as we work to bolster our workforce, create more diversity, cultural diversity in our communities as well. Housing is at the pinnacle of all of those things. And this is going to be a conversation you hear the town of Riverview talking about a lot more in the coming years. We hope it's something that you're going to be actively involved with us, because everybody in this room is going to have a role to play when it comes to that. And tied to the housing needs assessment is an affordable housing strategy. And so that's going to look at, what does affordable housing look like? How are we going to address some of those concerns? And a few of the things that we have talked about. Now, in terms of making things a little bit more affordable, there's limited things municipalities can do. One of the things that the town has looked at for next year, we've dropped the tax rate by 5 cents, so we can hopefully make things a little bit more affordable. We know assessments are ever changing. It's getting more and more expensive to run your household, to run your business, and so looking at the tax rate is one thing the town can do, and so we're pleased to have been able to do that, to at least do our part a little bit on that issue. Moving on, we've asked residents what they need to know. Obviously, today we're going to talk about the commercial market threshold analysis. There's some great information that came from that, and we're really excited to share that with you. If you were it was a recent chamber event, I talked about one example from it. So one of the feedback from residents, this is a spoiler alert, David's probably going to mention this, so just, he's not here, he won't know I said anything. So one of the things the residents are saying is that they want more fine dining options in the town of Riverview, which I think is great. But in that same breath, the restaurant everybody wants is A&W. So in the town of Riverview, we're going to define fine dining as A&W. And hopefully we can work together to achieve that milestone accomplishment of getting A&W. Developers in the room, take note. You will be everyone's hero. We've emphasized sustainable growth. Community energy and emissions plan has been started, which aims to deliver specific climate actions to help Riverview become more energy efficient and further develop opportunities in the green sector. We talked about hiring Yat Long, but we've also hired Chanel Akerley, who's our Manager of Economic Development, who's been doing great work. She has a focus on facilitating business growth and retention. A community economic development strategy is currently being formulated, which aims to move Riverview towards continued and sustained growth. We've championed funding for development. The town offers competitive, non-repayable development grant for commercial and mixed-use construction projects. Property owners that plan to develop, redevelop, infill, expand, or engage in construction activity on underdeveloped or vacant commercial land are eligible to apply. And if you're thinking about your next business opportunity, certainly talk to Chanel to discuss if that could work for you. And that'll be a common theme today is if you have questions, talk to Chanel and not me. That's not the right message, is it? That's no, oh, sorry. Lastly, one of the things we've done is we took time to meet with developers throughout the year to talk about some of the challenges of developing in Riverview and talk about some of the strengths of developing in Riverview. What are the pros and cons and what are those barriers? And that we've had some really great feedback from them on how we can look at improving development process. So those are just some of the highlights, but I very quickly want to touch on what we can expect next year. Next year, we'll be reviewing the town's municipal development plan, which is an incredibly important document as we look at the next 10 years of growth for the town of Riverview and setting those development standards and zoning standards. And there'll be a lot of public consultation that comes with that, and we're hoping that everybody will be engaged with that process as well. We're going to continue to work with the Southeast Regional Service Commission. I don't know how much people are following the work that's been happening there, but the province has given 5 new mandates to the Service Commission, including economic development and tourism, social and community development, and a few others as well. And these are big files that certainly impact the commercial sector, impact the growth of municipalities and the resources that we have available to address those things. It's exciting for us because for the town of Riverview, the work that we're going to do with the Service Commission should help support the work that Chanel's doing in economic development. It should help give us more resources for tourism. That's not a file that we've had a lot of dedicated resources to in the town historically, and so we're hoping to be able to access more support, which ultimately will affect all of you and support the work that you are doing as well. And we're going to be breaking ground on our recreation complex, which is pretty exciting. We have $20 million in the capital budget for next year. Yes, thank you. This is the first time we've been able to make a speech that didn't include the line, "We're still waiting on funding from the province and federal government." So that's great. That has now come through. And so that'll be really exciting. And we hope that's an opportunity that our business community can really capitalize on as well. That recreation complex is going to bring a lot of people into the town of Riverview, which means tons of growth opportunity for all of you. Whether you're developers, whether you own a business, there's a lot of potential there. So we'll continue to work with our regional partners, supporting newcomers and immigration as well, to continue to build a more diverse and inclusive community. So we've been continuing to work hard to support all of you, and we know that there's certainly lots more work that we can do, and we can only achieve the growth and the vision that we want for Riverview by working together. And I'm sure today's session is going to bring a lot of fruitful discussion, and hopefully you take something away from the information that we're going to share. As was mentioned earlier, I'm going to do a Q&A. I'd like to say a short Q&A, but judging by the length of this speech, it's probably not going to be that short. I'd be happy to field some of your questions and put my council colleagues on the spot as well so they can help. And yeah, so we'll take questions at the very end. Watch your emails by the end of the week, because we do have an email that's going to go out with a survey to capture your feedback on the forum. Don't say that I spoke too long. We all know that. Just don't include that in the survey. And we'll give you a summary of the commercial market threshold analysis as well. So I hope you have a great day. Again, thank you to Chanel and Yat Long. I apologize for going over my time. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today. I really hope this is a meaningful event for you, and we look forward to everything that the next year, the next 2 and 50 years will bring for the town of Riverview. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor LeBlanc. It's great to see so many initiatives undertaken since the last forum. Now joining us virtually from the vibrant city of Toronto, it is my pleasure, with the help of my colleague, to introduce our next presenter, a thought leader in economics and the president of Jupia Consultants, Inc., Mr. David Campbell.
That's right, Yet Long. So Mr. David Campbell has over 25 years experience in economics and research. So not only is he the president of Jupia Consultants, he's also the former chief economist for the province of New Brunswick. So we're very excited to have him engaged in our commercial market threshold report today. Not only is he a published author, he's also a renowned columnist with Brunswick News, and his commitment to community development is also supported by his role as chair of the board of directors for the United Way of Greater Moncton. As well, he's got a lot of accomplishments. He's also holding an executive position with the Multicultural Agency of the Greater Moncton area with MAGMA. So without further ado, we're going to open up the stage for Mr. David Campbell joining us through pre-recorded presentation from Toronto.
Welcome everyone to the 2023 Riverview Business Forum. I'm David Campbell, and I'm here today to talk about the commercial market threshold report that I prepared for the town of Riverview a few months ago. Happy to be here. Thank you, Yet Long and Chanel, for the introduction. This event is being held at the Spruce and Iron at the Moncton Golf Club in Riverview. It's an excellent venue and an excellent place for a round of golf. If you have any questions with regard to this presentation, feel free to email Chanel, and she can pass those questions on to me after the forum. So I hope you get some value from this presentation. It should probably only take 20 or 25 minutes, but it'll give you a good sense of what the research was telling us around the market opportunities in Riverview. So the project deliverables were to survey residents to determine where they purchase goods and services, how many stay in the community, how many leave the community, and for what specific goods and services. The report was also expected to determine an economic analysis to estimate the total market size for shops and services in Riverview based on the size of the population and catchment area, and also comparing to other jurisdictions. We also looked at the business counts in Riverview by employment size to determine if there could be a lower concentration of firms relative to the market size in Riverview. And we also ultimately developed a number of gaps in the town's commercial market and an assessment of those potential opportunities. So we're going to talk a little bit about those as we go through the presentation today. So let's start by talking about the survey results. So the survey was done in spring of 2023, in April and May. The town actually ran an online survey of questions asking residents about where they shop and access services. And there was a very, very good response. Nearly 1,500 people filled out that survey, or an amount equivalent to basically 1 out of every 14 residents. So a really, really good representative sample of residents in the town of Riverview. A good mix of those residents in each age group. So 41% of respondents were in the 25 to 44 age group, 39% were in the 45 to 64 age group, and 15% were in the 65 and older age group. So a very good mix of respondents to the survey. And I'll just say now, there is a full report. If you haven't had a chance to look at that report, I'm sure Chanel could provide you with a copy of that report. So one of the questions we ask people is where they get information about local businesses in Riverview. And of course, in the reality of the modern world, is social media is where people are going to get information on sales, on opportunities in the local market. So 83% of respondents said they use social media to get information on local businesses in the Riverview area. 72% use the old-fashioned way, the word of mouth. So they're relying on friends and family and colleagues to give them advice about where they should be shopping and what services they can access in Riverview. Another 36% said internet, and then flyers, radio, more traditional ways of accessing information were lower on the list. And television was at the very bottom of the list, where only 3% said they actually got information on local businesses in Riverview via the television, and only 6% via newspapers. Now, in the report, you'll see we have this information broken down by age cohort. And when you look at the 223 people over the age of 65, social media was still very high, 64%. or almost 2 out of every 3 use social media. Word of mouth was also very important as well. But this age group in particular relies a lot more on the flyers. So 54%, or a little over 1 out of every 2, indicated that flyers were an important way to get information about local business in Riverview. And this group also is more likely to read the newspaper. About 20% said they would get information about local businesses in the local newspaper. So we also asked respondents to tell us why they shop in Riverview. And the number one reason was because it's convenient, it's close to home. So almost everybody said that was a top reason to shop in Riverview. But the second highest response was to support local businesses. So there's a very strong sense of loyalty to local businesses in Riverview. 81% of respondents said that was a top reason why they'd like to shop in Riverview. And that's certainly an important feature for businesses that are operating in the town. The quality of goods and services and close to work were next in line, but much lower, with only about 1 out of every 5 responding that those were top reasons. And then the numbers go down from there. Price of goods and services, very few people selected that as a main reason or a top reason to shop in Riverview. Again, when you break that out by age group, even higher amounts around close to home and to support local businesses. 86% of everybody over the age of 65 said a top reason to shop in Riverview is to support local businesses. The quality of goods and services and the selection of goods and services, a little higher response. And of course, close to work is not a big issue for the population over the age of 65. So the other thing we asked them is, where do they shop for what goods and services? So you'll see a much more detailed breakdown and analysis of this in the report. But basically, Riverview residents are mostly shopping in Riverview for groceries, bakery, meat, for any kind of their weekly groceries. Pharmacy, very, very high share of folks use pharmacies in Riverview, almost 100%. People are using gas stations and convenience stores in Riverview. So very, very high usage rates for that. Bargain stores, takeout restaurants, not eat-in restaurants, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for takeout restaurants, mostly people are frequenting restaurants in Riverview. Veterinarian services are very, very strong in Riverview. In fact, you'll see in the report that that's actually an export sector, in the sense that people are coming from other parts of Greater Moncton to use the veterinarian services in Riverview. Building materials, home maintenance are another sector that's mostly people shop in Riverview. People mostly use local accountants for accounting services and tax preparation. Landscaping services, mostly local, and recreation, parks and trails, but other recreation services are mostly consumed in Riverview. When we look at where people shop outside of Riverview, and so the survey asked elsewhere in Greater Moncton, but we also asked about shopping online. And the top response here was family doctor, but other healthcare services like dentists and so on. So the vast majority of people that responded to the survey said that they actually access health services outside of the town of Riverview. The second one here was eat-in restaurants. So when people were asked where they go if they want to sit down and have a meal in a restaurant, and a majority said outside of Riverview for eat-in restaurants. Also, if they want to go out for a glass of wine or that type of activity, the vast majority of folks leave the town to access that type of service. Legal services, spa services, other wellness services are mostly not consumed in the town of Riverview. Church attendance, if they want to purchase jewelry or other gifts, they do that mostly outside of Riverview. Home decor, clothing, footwear, appliances, electronics, and craft hobby toys and books. So those are the main categories where people are leaving the town of Riverview to shop. So now we're going to turn to the highest demand opportunities, and these are grouped into themes, and we'll talk about those themes now. So you will see in the report that to determine these high demand opportunities, we looked at the estimated market size. So we have the town itself, we have Albert County. Most of the residents of Albert County If they're coming into the urban center to shop, the first place they get to is the town of Riverview. That's the first place they can access this type of shopping. And then we also have an area in the city of Moncton. We're calling that the catchment area, but basically that's an area where it's just as convenient to shop in Riverview as to shop in the major shopping districts in Moncton and Dieppe. We also looked at the number of firms and employment level related to market size. So to try and determine if Riverview was underserviced or overserviced in a specific category, we used the survey information to determine if there's resident interest in that sector. And then we did a comparative jurisdictional review. We looked at the concentration of firms and employment in Moncton, Dieppe, and then in Paradise and St. John's Mount Pearl in Newfoundland and Labrador. There's a lot of similarities in that urban center as there are here in the Greater Moncton area. And then we looked at Quispamsis, which is somewhat similar to Riverview in the context of the city of St. John. So this map is just showing you the catchment area. So the red sort of shaded area is what we would say the folks living in that area. It's just as easy for them to turn right or left and come across the bridge and shop in the town of Riverview. So this is just a rough assessment of that. Of course, some people may still decide to shop in the Moncton and Dieppe shopping areas, but they are just as close geographically to Riverview and could shop in Riverview. So the first highest demand opportunity here is clothing and shoes. So very, very few people shop for clothing and shoes in Riverview. This is a potential $53 million market, and you'll see the breakdown between the town, the county, and the catchment area, but it's still a fairly large market size. And it's only lightly addressed, very lightly addressed now by retailers in Riverview. Only 4% of residents said they shopped for clothing and shoes in Riverview, and it was the top mentioned sector from the residential survey. So over 300 people wrote in that they would like to shop for clothing and shoes in Riverview. And the comparative jurisdictional review indicates the town is very underserviced in this sector, again, relative to Paradise and Quispamsis and these communities that are on the periphery of a larger neighboring city. Now, in terms of some of the considerations, and these are developed more in the report, these smaller specialized stores, so the Old Navies, the Banana Republics, these kinds of stores tend to be clustered in areas with a lot of traffic. So you don't see a lot of them one-off stores. So they tend to be in malls, plazas, and so on. So when we're thinking about attracting clothing and shoe stores, we have to be thinking about that reality. There are 56 of these specific stores in the tri-community area, and that doesn't include department stores or other stores like Costco that actually sell clothing as well. So there's a lot of different competitors, a lot of different regions within the Greater Moncton area that offer these services, but it's still in high demand from Riverview residents. The second opportunity is restaurants. So there are quite a few restaurants, obviously, already in Riverview. But if you look at the market size, again, a potential $50 million market, and that includes, again, the catchment area and the county, and it's only moderately addressed in Riverview. So about 38% of residents say they primarily frequent in restaurants outside of Riverview, whereas about 67% of 2 out of 3 say they frequent takeout restaurants in Riverview. There were hundreds of written in responses saying that they would like to see specific brand names like A&W or specific ethnic foods like Indian or Mexican. And again, as I mentioned earlier, only about 10% choose local for a glass of wine. And when you compare to these other jurisdictions, it seems the town is underserviced as well. So this could be an opportunity, again, not to necessarily attract in specific competitors to the restaurants that are already in Riverview, but trying to build that mix of food service options so our residents are not leaving the community to access restaurants. This one is health services. So this one was a little surprising to me, but it does turn out that very, very few people access health services. In Riverview, only 13% of respondents said their family doctor, for example, was in Riverview. Less than 2 out of 5 said they use local dentists or local eye care service providers. and less than 50% said they access other healthcare services such as physiotherapy. So it does seem that people have to leave the region or leave the community to access health services. And then in terms of the written in responses in the survey, people were saying they'd like to see a blood clinic or a mental health clinic. There was a number of other responses in the health field. The comparative jurisdictional review also indicated that compared to Quispam, Cis Paradise, these other places, the town is very underserviced for most segments in the healthcare sector. Now, a lot of this, there's a lot of sort of private services, but there's also a lot of public services. So the doctor's office, physician's offices, and so on, which are related to Horizon Health. But they're also, those are decisions that are made by the individual physicians as well. So this would require, I think, a wide strategy of focusing on the public side, but also focusing on, the individual segments, whether it's dentists or whether it's physicians' offices, to try and attract them to be closer to their customers in the town of Riverview, but also to be more convenient for residents of Riverview. The third one here is personal care. So as I said earlier, people do rely heavily on local pharmacies. So 86% primarily use pharmacies in Riverview. But when you start to look at other personal care services, only about half, a little over half, access hair and beauty services in Riverview, a lower share access fitness and spa services. Now, this is a share of people that actually access these services. So you'll see in the report the breakdown between those that access in Riverview, don't access in Riverview, and don't use the service, or it's not applicable. But still a pretty relatively low share there. And again, when you look at the comparative jurisdictional review, it indicates the town is underserviced for most segments of the personal care services sector. It's a little bit complicated because particularly when it comes to hair styling and barber services, there's a lot that do that in their homes, and those are not necessarily picked up in the business survey that we used for this data. But given the importance of the pharmacy sector, there could be more potential to attract one or more of these facilities. So we seem to be moderately underserviced, even though it's highly used and highly appreciated in the community. The town could consider attracting specialized personal care facilities, such as a spa and more fitness options, although these sectors tend to be very highly competitive and unstable. They're very competitive, lots of entrances, lots of exits. So it can be a little more complicated when you're looking at attracting personal care services to the community. So those were the main sort of opportunity areas. There's some others. So these were maybe a slightly lesser in terms of the size of the market and the opportunity. But the town does seem to be well serviced when it comes to auto sales and somewhat auto services and maintenance. So about 50% of Riverview residents said that they accessed car repair services and maintenance services in Riverview versus elsewhere in the Greater Moncton area. But there does seem to be a lesser amount of automotive parts, accessories, and tire stores. So we do have obviously we have a Canadian Tire, but just in terms of this comparative review, it could be underserviced there. If you look at household furnishings and equipment, we're underserviced in that area as well. But that sector also faces a lot of the same challenges as clothing in the sense that there tends to be some clustering. There tends to be department stores and other larger big box stores that are playing in that space. Specialty food stores, so well serviced for groceries, not so much for the more niche or specialty food stores. Insurance services, so people primarily access insurance services outside of the town of Riverview. So this might not be a sector that you would think that there would be a need. But at the same time, to have an insurance broker office or more than one or two or three in the community is not necessarily a bad thing. So that could be a sector, as it does tend to be underserviced right now, using the analysis that we discussed earlier. Of course, there's Riverview is for a community its size. There's very few in the entire country that do not have a single hotel or accommodation service. There are very specific historical and current reasons why that's the case, but that still continues to be something that where there might be opportunity in the medium term. Having a hotel helps with things like attracting hockey tournaments or other sports tournaments or other student type events. And also, of course, it helps with the tourism sector. So looking forward, trying to find an opportunity around accommodations might make sense for the town, and also coffee shops. So we do have some coffee shops in Riverview, but again, when you look at the comparative review, it does look like relative to population size and comparing to other jurisdictions similar to Riverview, we are underserviced in the area of coffee. Okay, in terms of just a few specific write-in responses, if you go through the report, you'll see a longer list of clustered responses. So these are not individuals that want something. These are people, 30, 40, 50 people or more that wrote in and said they'd like this service in the community, or this shop in the community. A&W was the top mentioned restaurant by far, which is kind of interesting. Over 100 people, I believe, actually indicated they'd like to see an A&W. A number of people wrote in saying they'd like to see a Service New Brunswick office in the town. Nearly 60 people specifically wrote in asking for more activities for children. So some of that is sort of market oriented or commercial oriented. Some of that is more town focused, but there certainly seems to be a desire to bulk up the services and activities for children. About 40 respondents around some form of training. So that encompasses things like art classes, dance classes, pottery, theater, children's camps, things like that. So there was a number of people that wrote in and said they'd like more of those types of services in the town of Riverview. So how do we take advantage of these opportunities? So we'll just sort of wrap up the presentation here with a few slides on that. So the first thing I would say is you need to play to your strength as a community. So if people want to support local businesses, we should sell that feature. We should focus on the fact that, buying local, it benefits the local businesses, but it also benefits the residents because of convenience. And the more we buy local, the more we shop local, the more potential there is to broaden the base of goods and services in our community. So we should play to those strengths. We should target perceived weaknesses. So the top perceived weakness is that there's better selection elsewhere. So we probably should be focusing on the fact that you can buy just about anything you need in Riverview. So that would be sort of one way to sort of overcome that perception by a campaign, for example, that says, did you know you can buy this in Riverview? You can buy that. You can buy all these types of things already in Riverview. And the other one was perceived better prices elsewhere. I don't know if this is true. There's not necessarily any reason why this would be true. But if it is not true, we should be certainly targeting that weakness and saying, look, the price of X and Y and Z is the same in Riverview as it is in nearby Moncton and Dieppe. And then the third one here is to leverage these perceived weaknesses in business development efforts. So when we're going to try and attract industry or trying to grow new opportunities in the community, we should say, look, the business, the residents are telling us, these are the kinds of things they'd like to see, or that they think we have gaps in our community. So we've got a survey here telling us that. So why don't you come on in and open a business in that segment of the economy. Clustering still matters. So this is obviously an issue. We see these sort of development zones all around Greater Moncton. And those tend to be important for very important segments of the economy, such as clothing and shoes. So we should be still looking at zones and areas within Riverview where people can come and access, multiple shops and multiple services in the same neighborhood, even within the town of Riverview. I think we need to be more proactive. Either as developers or as the community, just developing prospectuses outlining these opportunities, making the case. They don't have to be huge documents, but very, very clear, articulated prospectuses outlining the reason why business X or business Y should find an opportunity in the town of Riverview. And again, these should be very sector specific. So if you're going to attract restaurants or a hotel or personal services, the business case for those, the value proposition for those are very specific to those sectors. And I think we need to understand the changing demographics in the town. So we've seen a 50% increase in the immigrant population over the last 10 years. We're certainly going to see more immigrants settling in the community in the years ahead, and that's using census data. Younger families are actually moving in again. So this sort of position of Riverview as sort of an older retirement community is just not the case. There's lots of older residents in our community, and they need to be serviced. They're absolutely critically important to our community, but we're starting to see, again, more younger families moving in, hence the demand for more services for children. But we have to understand when we're looking at attracting industry, attracting businesses, attracting shops, attracting services, that the dynamics are changing. Riverview is growing again. Its population growth is strong. It's becoming more diverse. It's becoming younger. And we need to understand those demographics when we're attracting retail shops and services. So that's my presentation. So I hope you got some value for that. I thank you for listening. And I would just say, if you have any questions, again, regarding this presentation, please feel free, as I said earlier, to email Chanel, and she can pass those questions on to me. And I encourage you to enjoy the rest of the 2023 Riverview Business Forum and take advantage of this important networking opportunity.
How interesting. We hope that you were maybe able to see yourselves in some of these business opportunities, or maybe some of your clients when thinking about your commercial real estate. We're going to do a quick Q&A session. The event is recorded, so if there's any questions, we're going to take them away for David Campbell to answer them, and we'll get back to you. I think Yetlong might have all your emails, so I think we're covered.
Any questions?
Oh, I'm Carolyn Connors with Opportunities New Brunswick. Sorry, is that? My question was around the hotel and accommodations, and he mentioned. Sorry. Oh, sorry, guys. The question is around hotel and accommodations and a lack of thereof here in Riverview, and that there were historical reasons for that. So I was curious what those were or are. Thanks.
I can take it back to David Campbell as well. I'm not sure what the historical reasons are, but we've heard from some of the hotel owners in Moncton that there is a big cluster of hotel accommodations on Main Street right across the bridge. So that is great, but we'd like to see opportunities for those tourism dollars to stay within the town of Riverview as people cross through to the renowned Bay of Fundy, as people kind of come here for tournaments that are going to be increased in numbers as we have our recreation complex, as the mayor mentioned, that'll open in 2026. So I'll do some digging and I'll get back to you, but thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? John?
Thank you. Great presentation. Thanks for the event today. It's fantastic. Before I ask my question, I just decided here as I was sitting at lunch that as I approach retirement, I've decided to open an A&W franchise in Riverview.
Amazing.
So I'm looking for potential investors, if anybody's good. Oh, okay. Wayne? Okay, good. Wayne was one of the 100 who said he wanted an A&W.
That's right. He answered the survey multiple times, I'm sure.
Some of the things I jotted down, things like focus on close to home, support local, the importance of clustering, and the changing demographics of Riverview. What is the next step coming out of this study for the town in terms of actions?
That's a great question. And so we actually had a list of recommendations that was approved by council back in September that came out of this study. So part of what the town is doing is packaging the information, the data, the trends into prospectus campaigns to kind of equip the developers and the commercial sectors into what opportunities exist and make sure that they have all of this when they're talking to their clients and prospective businesses. So that's one thing we're doing. We're also leading events such as this one's, but I think the idea is that we really want to make sure that we're leveraging all the opportunities and that we play on our strengths, as David Kimball said.
Thank you, and thank you, David. That reminds me of a situation that occurred many years ago in regards to the eat-in restaurant question in Riverview. And part of that, from what I understand, I don't have proof of that or anything in writing, but Swiss Chalet, to my knowledge, wanted to come into Riverview a number of years back. But when they did their surveys in Riverview to determine the potential eat-in clientele numbers, they found that the majority of Riverview people work outside of Riverview. So the lunch hour trade was down here, and they needed that lunch hour trade to support their total business concept. So depending on the dinner business wasn't good enough. So part of that was a problem of the amount of people working outside Riverview. They're going all day. And so when I saw the information coming up in regards to targeting people in regards to what's available in Riverview for the same prices and different things like that, I think that would be a really strong focus for us too as well. So again, that could be one of the reasons for good restaurants to be servicing out of Riverview type thing.
Thank you, Wayne. Any other questions? Anyone from the back? Oh. Actually, Matt has the mic there for you.
Thank you. I'm Sean Mayo. I'm a local realtor with Royal LePage. I think just to echo what Wayne's saying, as someone who works on the road all the time, it's often convenient to be where I'm at to then shop. So whether it's something like furniture or even like sometimes, hey, I'm out on Mountain Road, well, all those shops are right there kind of thing. So kind of being able to develop that here locally, I think would be good. I think something, the only thing I could come up in my mind, because you mentioned you couldn't think of something historical when it comes to the hotel thing. I think just in general, I think the vibe I get here in Riverview, and I have lived here for only 3 years, but the vibe I generally get is people like that fact that it is more residential. So having pockets of business and stuff like that, I love that we have that, and developing that is really good, but I wouldn't want to necessarily lose that home kind of feeling, right? I liken it a lot to Galton, Ontario, where I grew up, tree-lined streets. I can walk my dog. It feels like a little bit of a different vibe. And being able to maintain that around where these businesses are served, I think, is important in any planning. And I'd also love green space, too. So I think as we're planning, I think just my personal feedback is I've lived in places like Toronto or Hamilton where they're trying to make bike paths work. They're trying to make green space work, but having that be a part of the plan, I think, is going to be essential to keeping that home feeling without it being, oh, I'm driving down the road and there's a Tim Hortons, there's a Walmart, there's a Tim Hortons, there's a Walmart, like trying to avoid that kind of a feeling and having it be a little bit more, again, a home feeling, but hey, let's also shop local because there's this great district to go in and I can also go walk my dog. These are kind of, I know it's several different things at the same time interacting, but I think that kind of helps with growth, encouraging people to continue moving here and continue to develop their businesses here.
That's a great point.
Sean.
And actually, something to mention is that when we talk about tourist accommodations, I think it's good to consider the variety of businesses that could mean. So not just hotels, but maybe it's a boutique hotel with 9 or 10 rooms, or a hostel for those younger folks that are coming through to hike the Fundy footpath. Maybe it's a campsite or a hostel, things like that are kind of diverse and maybe meet some needs for tourist accommodations that aren't just that singular hotel. So we're really here to broaden our knowledge of opportunities, and that's a really great point. So thank you for making it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, so we have Michel from CBDC, who's here in the room today. He's one of our partners at an exhibiting booth. And Yet Long's going to give a brief bio intro for him to come up.
Yeah, so it's my pleasure to introduce you to our next speaker, Michel Galland, who possesses a wealth of experience in technology, software development, business operations, program development, and much more. Having worked for his family business for the better part of a decade, he successfully helped grow its multiple ventures. He now helps develop entrepreneurs through professional programs and thoroughly understands the needs of business leaders, having worked as one himself. Please join me in welcoming Michel Galland.
Thank you very much. Almost 6 foot, so I'm a bit taller. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Michel Galland, and I work for CBDC. Essentially, what we do at CBDC is that we deliver specific programs for both government, the provincial and federal. Just to outline what we are going to talk about, it's who we are, our loan products, our loan criteria, the self-employment benefit program, and skills training and other different types of programs. So I wanted to really start off with a joke, but I saw how very professional this was, so I decided not to. But if you guys want to hear it, I'm down with it. You want to hear it? That's a little Christmas joke, all right? So what did the gingerbread man put on his bed? Cookie sheet. Perfect. So who we are, CBDC stands for Community Business Development Corporation, funded by the Government of Canada through the Community Futures Program. We are a non-for-profit, and the core program that we deliver for the Community Futures Program is designed specifically for rural entrepreneurs. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors, and they are all community business owners. So within Westmoreland, Alberta, they're all business owners that kind of do their job, their business, and then we meet on a monthly basis, and they are also our directors. So we take what they want to see implemented, and we present our programs and our applications to them, and they make decisions based on the information we can provide to them. We were established in 1987, and we would be considered as higher risk lenders. And we complement lending available through traditional sources. So let's say if there's a traditional bank or credit unions, the traditional lenders, we are able to complement them in doing some of the bigger deals. Meaning that when a client is not able to access all of the capital through a traditional lender, we would be there to help them move forward with their down payment or things that they may need to do that. The following slide. Oh. There we go. So as you can see in our region, we have 10 offices throughout New Brunswick, 41 in the Atlantic region, and 267 across Canada. As you can see, our territory is fairly big, Westmoreland, Alberta. So it goes all the way up from Sackville to past Petty-Kodiak to Grandig, where Kent would divide, and all the way up to Fundy. So definitely the Greater Moncton or Riverview is included in Westmoreland, Alberta. The CBDC programs that we deliver, the loan programs, there we go. The Impact program, we recently acquired that program, and it's a program where if one is eligible to apply, it goes up to a maximum of $25,000. So the thing is with this, it's for startups. It'll be for all ages, expansions, 19 to 39. And with this particular program, there's no interest in the first year, and how we decide the interest level is bank prime plus 2. So at the current moment, it's 7%. So essentially, you would be able to borrow $25,000 first year, no interest charge, same amount that you're making the payment for the first year, moving on for the following 4 years, and interest is only starting to charge on principal on the 13th month. And that would be delivered for the Riverview, Moncton, and Dieppe. The Rural Community Program, so Community Futures Program, and these are for rural entrepreneurs. And I'm assuming that there might be some of you guys that are here that are outside of the Riverview environment. So I'm just going to go lightly through that. So that maximum of 150. There's different programs throughout there, but essentially if you don't fit into one of the youth first time social innovation, there is always the general business loan program. Moving on, and I think this is where it gets particularly interesting for the Riverview, is where we are able to help a little bit more with new entrepreneurs and existing entrepreneurs that might be in a difficult position, or they want to do an expansion and they're having problem financing or getting capital to do that. So the Impact Loan Program, again, it's only a maximum of $25,000, but essentially it's enough most of the time just to get someone out of a jam. All right. So it must be based and registered within the urban center. Viability of the proposed business still needs to be demonstrated. A past experience and management skills of the entrepreneur, impact on existing competition, willingness to invest personal equity, acceptable credit history, and we are definitely looking at the job creation and maintenance of that. All right. The self-employment benefit program is a program that we deliver for the province. It is aimed for unemployed EI-attached individuals who wants to create a full-time employment for themselves. So essentially, this program, it's not a job creation, but it's more as an employment creation program. It's designed for someone that is unemployed, have been on regular EI, not able to find an employment for themselves as an employee, and they're looking to create a business so they can create themselves a job. This is what this program is specifically designed for. So it is a non-repayable assistance for 50 weeks. It must be a year-round business, so like part-time or seasonal would probably not work for this. Must be a year-round, business training available for all participants, and business development seminar, the BDS, and we'll touch that in a few seconds. And there is another component to the SCB program where it's for a person with a disability, where the criteria of the program changes a little bit to accommodate some of the challenges or obstacles that they may face while starting or operating their business. The BDS is a business development seminar. It is mandatory to be able to apply for the SEB. It is a seminar where it's a week-long course. It's all practical information on how to start and what to expect about starting a business. So it is a very, very highly regarded course. I've led that. Now it's Rick Nicholson that is coordinating that course, and he's doing a fantastic job. I don't hear anything else from the participant besides Rick is awesome. Thank you, Rick. Shout out to him. So after that, the business skills and other programs. Like you said, the business development seminar, which Rick, the coordinator, it is funded by the province, so there's no cost to the person that attends. This is for people that are either unemployed, they may be employed, but looking to find out more about what it would be like to start in business and the reality of it all. Usually it's an eye-opener attending that. The entrepreneur training funds, so mostly one-on-one. So through the Community Futures program, through the Impact program, and through the SEB, we do have some funding there that we are able to help entrepreneurs get a consultant to help them with some of their difficulties in managing their business. And that could be through accounting, bookkeeping, social media, human resources, you name it. As long as they're learning something towards their administration, we might be able to help them with some funding, all right? The Consultant Advisory Services, CAS, is where we are able to access a little bit more capital to pay some of the higher amounts of consultants to help them not manage, but like develop some sort of a plan, a strategy to move their business forward, either in an expansion or if they're looking to purchase a different company or things of that nature. CBDC Learning Library. There is, I think, above 20 different videos all about how to start in business, different topics, things of that nature. They're all free. They're on our website. And Women in Business. We do have, and they are directed directly under the CBDC Association. So any woman that is in business, that would be, it's either 50 or 51%, I'm thinking it's 51%, would be able to access some of their services. And the majority of their services is consultation, groups, networking. They do have a CAS program for training also, and they have other items. So certainly it's well worthwhile to get on their email list and see what are the events that are upcoming. And the Canadian or Canada Digital Adoption Programs, the CDAP, this was done when COVID, you remember all that fun time. It was to help businesses that were already on the internet or not on the internet, but to have a digital presence there and how to break through that noise. So that would pair up with a consultant to help them to maneuver, educate them, and show them what to do in order to break through all that noise. And that would conclude my presentation. And I did have another joke because I just didn't know how to do it, so I'm still going to do it. Who is never hungry at Christmas? The turkey. He's always stuffed. Thank you, guys. I'll be over there if you have any questions.
I want you to stay here. Yeah, we're. Thank you for this insightful presentation, Michelle. Now, does anyone have any questions about the CBDC program?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to understand the last slide. It's also for the urban entrepreneurs?
Urban and rural.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah, so specifically the BDS, like I said, it's free and it doesn't matter in which region you live in. We also deliver that in Kent, so our French part is done in Kent County. The English versions are at this moment done at the community college, where we are able to have a room and give that training. The entrepreneurial training funds, mostly one-on-one, so that's where a client would call us and we would see what their need is, and then we would refer them to a specific consultant to get a quote, and they would submit that, and then we'll see if we have any fundings. Same thing for CAUSE, Learning Library, that's on our web, and Women in Business, it is for both urban and rural, and the CDAP, same thing.
Hi. Sean Mayo again. Yes. So I work with a lot of people from away that are looking to come here and enjoy the maritime life. If they are looking to come here, they might be tradespeople, they might be people that are wanting to open the A&W.
Absolutely.
But if they're looking to come here and use these resources, do they have to already be landed? Can they start reaching out for information
Absolutely.
before they land here so they can kind of
Yeah.
hit the ground running? Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I know some programs you have to have been here for a while, but I wanted to make sure that was available. And what about for new Canadians? So sometimes I deal with new Canadians as well that are looking to...
Yeah, they definitely need to have a permanent residency
Okay.
card when we're looking at newcomers. That being said, we're not going to stop helping them trying to figure out what they can and can't do and what would be the resources and program out there.
Well, I was going to say, even these resources being available for free,
Yeah.
I mean, I might check those out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's good to have those. So thank you.
Yeah, so essentially, if CBDC can be utilized, not necessarily to have all the answers, but we can guide and give them information on where to have that or access that info on how to start and what it looks like, right? And the first stop is really the BDS. Again, shout out to Rick, but that is the course before even thinking about starting a business that one would want to attend. And there's a lot of insight in there about information on what to expect. Yeah. Good question.
Okay.
That's it.
Any last questions? Okay, merci Michel, thank you. Okay, now before we wrap up the formal portion of this presentation, we'd like to do a quick Q&A with Mayor LeBlanc to open up the floor if there's any questions. We know a survey will be sent out after this along with the presentation materials, but if there's anything you'd like to voice in person, we're here to listen.
And maybe we'll get you guys to stay close too.
Yeah.
There's lots of things I don't know.
Thank you so much. Mayor LeBlanc, I represent Green Economy New Brunswick, and I'm very interested in knowing or learning more about how the city of the town of Riverview is planning its growth. You already mentioned that you will be working on the new strategy, and so how are you including sustainability into that new strategy, and what's kind of your vision for the future development of the town?
Sure. So we've been looking at sustainability through, or we've been using that lens for quite a while, actually. It started several years ago. We developed our Integrated Community Sustainability Plan. And so we had a committee that was put together that started looking at even things like microgrants for community organizations or for students to try and get more people engaged in that process. One of the things that I mentioned today was the work we're doing on the emissions strategy moving forward. And Chanel would probably have more information on the details of that because she's smarter about that than I am. But there's a lot of work that's going into, even energy efficiencies as we're building our new facilities, and with the recreation complex being a great example of that, and even going back to our operations center and how we're heating that, and so there's a number of those factors that are going into the future development of the town. Sustainability has been a priority for us for a long time, and so it's part of our strategic plan, and so it's a lens that we use with any growth opportunity that the town goes forward. And we're also very much encouraging people to join us and be a part of those things as well. So we'd love to have more conversation if you have ideas on that, because it sounds like you have some resources or some knowledge that we could tap into. So did I answer that okay, Chanel? Is that all right?
That was perfect. Loved it. And we'll
Awesome.
talk after, because we're also working on a community economic development strategy that will include sustainability
right.
best practices, and we'll do some consultation for sure with you. So we'll connect. Merci, Maria.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? It can be about anything, really. You don't have to have questions. That's good for me. So I'm going to take silence as everything's going very well for everyone, and we're happy. Okay, well, that's great. I want to give another thank you to Yat Long and Chanel for the work they did putting this together and for being great hosts for us today. Give it up for them, please, and thank you. And before I let them close it out, if at any time you do have questions about what's going on in the town, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to take questions and be as open as I can. So thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I have a last question.
I did my closing and everything. Forget all that. I'll do it again.
Okay, I just want you to speak more, so that's why. But
No one's
anyway.
ever said that to me. So can you just hold the mic up a little closer?
Oh,
There you go.
sorry.
Yeah,
Is it
thank you.
better?
That's
Okay.
great.
So no, I just heard all this, and I was just wondering. This is something that I've been concerned about for many years now. There's no plan for French speaking in Riverview. So like about all this conversation was all in English, but I know a lot of people who doesn't want to move to Riverview just because it's a lot of English, and no one's you're not even planning anything for French speaker who just arrived in Canada or who are new immigrants. So that's what I wanted to know. What are your plans for French speaker who want to establish themselves in Riverview?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. I think historically the town of Riverview has been an Anglophone community. And I probably should have included this in the speech today, but one of the things that we are very happy with is the diversity and the growth that we're seeing in town. The Francophone population, I believe the percentage is up to 10% now. So that is growth in our Francophone population in Riverview. And so we are working to continue that. We created an equity, diversity, and inclusion committee that's looking at building a more well-rounded, a more inclusive, a more welcoming community, and that would include not only the Francophone population but newcomers as well, supporting the LGBTQ population, and what we can do as not just the entity, the government entity, but as a community to create a more welcoming community for everybody. And that's very much on the agenda for us. There are some recommendations that are forthcoming from the EDI committee, but we want Riverview to be seen as a more welcoming community, including for the Francophone speaking population as well. Some of the things that we've seen in terms of cultural diversity, we've seen an increase in different events and festivals that are happening now. So we've had the Indo-Canada Association that are doing events at Kaisley Park, the Al Salam Community Center that are doing events, at the community hall. And so we're seeing a lot more cultural diversity. And that to me says that Riverview is starting to be seen as a more welcoming a community for everybody. And I take that as a good sign. We still have a lot of work to do, and we definitely have more work to do to target inclusion around our Francophone population as well. And so we certainly take that point to heart, and we'll make sure that's factored into the work that we're doing moving forward. I don't know if that's an okay answer or not.
That's great. And actually, just to add on, our last census showed that 70% of Riverview residents identify as Anglophone. So the flip side of that stat is that there's 30% of residents that are either bilingual or speak another language. So we're really high on people with diverse language knowledge, and we know there's market for French speakers, and we're happy to welcome more of them as they come. This is also a close to my heart issue because moi aussi je suis francophone de nature, so thank you for that point.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Mayor LeBlanc. So now for some lighthearted fun, I think we're going to wrap up with the participation prize. Yet Long had a great idea for this, so get ready.
All right. Oh, you're going to hold it for me. Perfect. So we have a really nice prize package here. It's a limited edition sweater, as well as a mug and a nice bag and a notepad. And of course, the notepads that you see in front of you and the pens and the cookie, that's for you to take home as well. So I'm going to ask everyone to look underneath your chair. This is like an episode of Oprah or Ellen. If you find a Minion toy taped underneath your chair, you win this prize pack. Yeah. A Minion toy taped under your chair. Okay, all right. Congratulations. Yep. It's the girl right there, yeah. Yeah. Oh, they switched chairs. Oh. Shouldn't have done that. There you go. Congratulations.
Awesome. So you snooze, you lose. Exactly. So what an incredible time it's been at the Riverview Business Forum. We hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did and are leaving a little bit smarter than you came here with, some learnings and some connections. So we thank you all for coming. We couldn't be able to do an event like this if it wasn't for your participation. And just in close, Mayor LeBlanc, myself, Yet Long, and a ton of other Town of Riverview staff are around to network after this. So if you have any questions, our business cards are also on the back table. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And don't forget, take some photos over there in the step and repeat. Share on social media. Tag us, Town of Riverview. And yeah, I'm here to chat. So enjoy, guys.